Okay, so the other theory that I introduced to this life experience was the social learning theory. And I thought this was a good theory, personally, just because I think that there was a lot of things that were learned, a lot of things were not learned. Like in the sense of I don't want to do that. And then some things were learned because of the depression phase and experience. And so clearly he learned that it was okay to not go to school. Um, he learned that it was okay to drink and to smoke. Whether his mom wanted to or didn't want to, in both situations, nobody was stopping him. Um, and then later in his life, when he gets sober, when he gets his GED, um, it's neat that I think in this theory too, later on in life, he learned how it was possible to get rid of undesirable behaviors. Um, he didn't think that he could ever stop drinking. And he, went to a 12-step program and is still in a 12-step program 44 years later. And, and he saw that other people are getting sober and I can, you know, he said in the Navy he was taught hygiene. He said nobody ever taught him that. With brushing your teeth and whatnot. I mean, he did, but he said there was so many things that he had never been taught growing up. And then he said also learn, about good behavior by going to church. He started going to church. So I feel as though like limitations go, for me, I think that it neglects the biological effect that trauma. So in this situation, in this case, there is a clearer component of trauma, and he said that there's, as far as he knows, of 4 generations of, addiction, 4 generations of depression. Um, he also mentioned that he had, in his children he and his wife, neither one of them drank. So his children were raised in a loving setting, um, you know, and without any alcohol ever around. And 3 out of the 4 ended up having a drinking problem, and 2 being sober today, and one not having. So um, to me, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that there is definitely there's some sort of genetic component, and for me, I think that the social learning is great, but it neglects that factor and that piece. Some statistics that statistics slash resource or research, excuse me, that I would like to share with what that goes with everything that I've just discussed a little bit, just with the ACEs. The CDC says it contributes more than 50% of the top leading causes of death in the United States. We know that trauma and ACEs, they can affect biological, social, and emotional development. Um, it's also known the toxic stress that is an effect of the trauma, almost like a PTSD symptom. So they say that's a symptom of the stress. So it alters the brain, and it gives difficulty in learning, because we saw that with the just the non, of course there's suppression factoring in as well, but also the negativity of the brain, the what do you want to say, like the brain development, how it altered that, and not wanting to learn. He dropped out of school. And yeah, so it said that students who are victims of trauma are more at risk for academic failure. Statistics showing that ACEs are, children exposed to ACEs are at increased risk for drinking, smoking, anxiety, PTSD, depression, and suicide. And every single one of them were factors that he shared with me. Said that leads to feelings of insecurity, doubt, poor self worth, and withdrawal. Again, all symptoms shared. They're at risk for impulsivity, poor social skills, difficulty managing, regulating their emotions. They lack social skills, and present risky behaviors such as the smoking, the drinking. And so, where am I now? This is my favorite piece of this whole presentation. So, where is client now? So, some fun facts. I joined the Navy at 18 for structure. Since I had none, I had no parents and no direction. The Navy helped me tremendously, teaching me everything I was lacking in my teens. He said he got sober at 21. He got his GED at 21. He said he was married at 23 and had 4 beautiful children. He said in between that, he said, I tried to learn how to be a good person. He said, this was powerful. I got the life I always wanted as a child. It was the story I wanted my whole life, except I was a different character. Instead of being the child, I was now the dad. He did share too that his dad came back into his life when he was 23. He said that his dad got sober and he became a drug and alcohol counselor for the VA. He said his children never saw their pop-up drunk, and that he was able to share 50 years, more than 50 years of memories with him. He said today he has great family, wife, children, grandchildren, friendships. Quotes, he said, sometimes I don't know how I got here. And I asked him, I saw one of the questions on the thing with just contributions to society. So I asked what he felt were some contributions that he thinks that he has brought to society. Sorry. He said that he teaches at his church. So he does RCIA, which is the Rite of Christian Initiation of Adults. And so he brings people into the church and he teaches them and walks them through that path. In quotes, he said, my biggest contributions are that I get to direct human beings in this life to the next life. And then his the second part, he had 2 answers. So that was one with the church. And then the second one was he said he helps men and women struggling with addiction get sober. He said, quotes, I can help where no one else can. Client said he is very happy with it. Oh yeah, he said I'm very happy with my life. Sure, I reflect a lot now, but I don't beat myself up about my failures. I learn from the good and the bad. He said I am extremely happy and at peace today. And I saved this for the last slide because it was my favorite thing that he said. And I'm just getting a little choked up, but he said, God took the very worst thing about me and turned it into the greatest asset for helping others. So he says all that pain and everything that he went through as a kid, he uses it today. He gives back. He helps people get sober. He sponsors men. He walks people through the church. It was funny with the church, with sobriety, he said, if you want to buy a car, you go to a car dealership. You want to get sober, I can tell you how to get sober. And just a very humble man, and that was my favorite quote, quote from him. And then there are my references, and that's all. And sorry, I got a little choked up at the end. It was a very powerful interview, and I learned a lot, and it was just a very good experience. So thank you to all who watched, and counting down the days for our little break. And I hope everyone enjoys themselves and relaxes and spends some time with their family and takes some breaths and lets them out, because I certainly needed it. But it's been a pleasure, and wishing you all a wonderful holiday season with your loved ones.